Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. If you've been here, welcome back. Today in this video you will be watching a segment from a video that my husband and I have put together. We're kind of just talking about our experience having a late talking child and just kind of the journey that we've been on, and somebody had asked me to expand on what Einstein Syndrome was, so I ended up just kind of making it a whole video talking about our late talker's journey. So in this video, you're going to be able to see one segment of the video. If you want to watch the full video, it is here on my channel, and I will be posting different segments from the entire video because the entire video is an hour and a half long. To help the algorithm push this out to more people, it would be really helpful if you guys could like, comment, subscribe to the channel. As you're watching these videos, if you have any other things that you want me to dig into more, any other questions, or if you've noticed and just want to share your experiences that you've had with your late talker, please leave a comment below, and we would love to read and respond to whatever you guys say. Please also keep in mind, we are not experts when it comes to this. We are speaking mainly from our experiences of me as a teacher in the school system and my husband being a late talker himself, and then also the things we experience with our late talker from day to day. But the biggest thing that we really want to encourage other parents, whether you're in this same situation or other things, stand up for your child. You are the parent. Don't be afraid to use your voice, to say no to things you don't agree with or things that you just don't feel are right. Remember, you have your child forever. You are the driver in the car of your child's life, their future. And everybody else that comes in and out are just passengers. So remember that you have to be the advocate for your child, and it's okay to say no to things that you don't think are right, but you also have to be willing to put the work into the solution that you're wanting. You have to remember that these passengers are in and out, but if you don't like the passengers that are in and out of your child's life, then you need to also be willing to do whatever it takes to get them there. You can't force anybody to do things the way that you want. You have to be willing to do those things yourself. Thank you so much for coming here and for taking the time to listen to what we have to say and to watch our videos. Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Morgan. This is my channel Osomo, and we are here to talk to you about Einstein Syndrome. Somebody commented on one of my, I think it was my PBX detox videos, that they wanted to know more about it. So we're going to talk about it. This is something that we have thought about in regards to our son. We have a late talker, and we've been diving into just different ways to help him with his talking, which as I've been doing more diving, a lot more has opened up to me. So I'm also going to make sure I put some of the resources that I've been watching and listening to, some of the books that I've listened to. I'm going to put those in my description box below, so you can also look into those things yourself. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my experiences from my perspective of my late talking son. My husband's going to also talk to you about his experiences with our late talking son as well.
Getting a proper diagnosis for your late talking child, first and foremost, why is that like the most important thing you can start to do?
So the reason it's the most important thing is because any support services or any treatment intervention, classroom placement, all comes out of that. And so it has to be accurate. And it's a real problem because the way that many systems work is they're simply trying to see if the child is eligible for services. And so the idea is, okay, I have a late talker, I'm not really worried about whether it's a symptom or a stage. It's, can I get them in a special classroom? Can I get them in a special program? And so they're not really thinking about, is it a stage or a symptom? And if it is a symptom, is it autism? Is it intellectual disability? Is it language disorder? Is it something else? So they're just going to do a very short, not in-depth kind of an evaluation just to see if the child can get into services. But those services will not match the child's needs unless that diagnosis is accurate. It's one of the most important things that parents need to pay attention to.
A big thing, I know some people get diagnoses because they are seeking the resources, and without a diagnosis, they will not receive those resources. It is a very interesting thing that I find that if your child needs something, that if they don't have a diagnosis, then they can't receive those resources.
Or there are many complexities that come with receiving those resources.
But I also look at, just because something is free doesn't mean that it's necessarily what's best for your child. You have to be the judge of that. You are the parent of that child. You know your child. You have to be the judge of that. And in our case, we have been told, I've been told several times by experts, that if I just go ahead and get him diagnosed autistic, that we can get all kinds of free resources and all kinds of this and all kinds of that.
And once you get one diagnosis, should you seek to get more or a second opinion, just like you would maybe if someone said you've got a growth on your hand, let's, how to treat it, right? So how many opinions should you get?
So I think it's important to always, particularly if it's a diagnosis that's pretty severe and requires a lot of services and special placements, I think it's very important to get a second opinion. On the other hand, if the parents have a good understanding of the child, and most parents do, and the assessment that they get and the diagnosis they get fits in with their understanding, I think it's fine to just have the one. But if it's something like autism, I would absolutely get a second opinion on that, definitely. Or if it's intellectually disabled. I've had a number of cases where there's an initial diagnosis of intellectual disability, mental retardation, and then the child is recommended for a classroom that's for children who learn more slowly, need a lot of support. And pretty quickly, it's clear that was a misunderstanding. You can imagine that's not only in the moment, but that actually has long-term implications for the child. And so you want to make sure that's accurate. It's crucial.
If you put them around a bunch of kids that have behaviors, then they're going to start to emulate those behaviors. That's a firm belief that we have. If we had followed the county experts, he would have ended up in a class with people that have actual mental issues or behavioral problems that have actual diagnoses and issues, and he would have started emulating that. Because we've kept him separate from that, he's picking up, he's starting to speak normal. He still has some enunciation issues, and that's why we took him to speech. And when we took him to speech, and it was very hard to find a good speech person to go with there. It's very full. A lot of places just don't have openings. That's what we struggled with. When we did find a place, they were very good to us and him. He loves going there. They make it fun for the kids. Usually they've got all kinds of games and activities. It's a very personal experience with them.
Wake up! Good morning, good morning. It's time to say good morning, good morning to you. Oh, is it an elephant? No. Is it a snake? No. Is this a monkey? No or yes? Yes, it is a monkey. Good job, Jace.
I have had conversations with his current speech teacher about all these different ideas and theories, and the biggest thing is that she's going to be very careful to not really give much input on it, because as I know as a teacher, we are not doctors, we cannot diagnose, so it's really a dangerous territory when you start going into trying to give a diagnosis. So she's protecting herself, which I don't blame her in the slightest. We absolutely love going to see her, and Jace loves his speech sessions with her.
Is an elephant. Nice job. Yes, I'm okay. Okay, phew. I'm on. Bounce, bounce, bounce. We bounce, bounce, bounce. Jace likes to bounce around. We bounce, bounce, bounce. Don't fall down. Oh no, Jace, you fell. Nice work. What's next? Hi. You need the goat? Yeah? Really? And what color? It's gray. And ooh, he has horns. Are they soft or spiky? Ow. Are they soft or spiky? Ow! Jace, are his horns soft or spiky? They're spiky. Ooh, ow! Ooh, ouchie, it got me. All right, can you put it in? Ow! It got you. Spiky.
So speech is something that we had just a long conversation about. We were kind of on the fence on if we wanted to do speech or not. We ended up deciding to go with speech, and I have absolutely loved it for Jace. And what I really love about speech, and I know it's not like this all the time, because when we were in our first speech place in Alabama, we were not allowed to go back and be in the session, which I kind of sort of understood what they were saying, but I also feel like that whole being the parent in the driver's seat, I am a visual person. If you're working on something, I want to watch how you're doing it so that I can imitate it at home. I want to create consistency. So when we came to Georgia, we started speech. Where we go to right now, we are able to go in. So I get to go into every session. It's really enjoyable. I love watching how she interacts with Jace because she's like a real life Miss Rachel. She's phenomenal. We love her. She understands Jace for who he is. She meets him where he's at. She knows what he's capable of, and she pushes him to his highest expectation. And I get to watch how she puts things into place, and she'll send me articles. By the end of the session, her and I will sit and just kind of talk. Like for the last 2 minutes, her and I will talk about like any updates, like how was he this week? Were there any growth this week? Any concerns this week, sort of thing. If anything, his speech has not been helping Jace. It's been helping me, but it's definitely been helping him because he enjoys going to go see her every week. Speech has been a very good experience for us. If you can find a place that'll let you go and just kind of be an observer to what's going on, I definitely highly recommend trying to find that because it's been very beneficial for us.
She also agreed with us that he didn't have autism or any other spectrum-related issue.
In this part, he's referencing our first speech teacher that we had in Alabama for Jace. And as I said before, typically speech teachers cannot really give a diagnosis per se. I think it also depends on what state you live in, so I'm not really sure the full rules for Alabama. But I will say we were very open with her. We wanted her honest opinion, like we asked her. So that's why she gave it to us.
And once we started looking into it and digging into it, I believe it was her that made the recommendation of the syndrome. So we dug into something called Einstein Syndrome. So we definitely recommend don't get diagnosed. Instead, trust your instincts a little bit. Know your children is the best thing I can say. Take the time to really understand them and interact with them, right? Like Jace, he's smart for two reasons. One, he has just very innate intelligence. And then two, we have built into him an enjoyment of it because we work with him one-on-one. So his mom will take him off and work with him. I'll take him off, work with him. Since he was able to sit and hold stuff, we've been putting pins in his hand, crayons. We've always put letters in front of him and numbers. And me and his mother are very OCD about things. So he's definitely picking up on those traits. So don't ever let somebody tell you that if your kid lines something up that they're doing it, because they have some spectrum or diagnose. No, it's a natural inclination of human nature.
Many children will line up toys, but a child with autism will line them up the same way every time. And then if you try and change them up, they'll get really upset.
Are you going to stack it tall? You stack it tall?
So that's kind of a differential that you'll have. And so if you persist in this analytical to the point where you're not learning other things and you're not learning social cues and you're not learning language, then that actually can be inhibitory or a clinical marker. I take pictures of kids lining up toys to show them my lectures. Kids who, like, I'll take a picture and say, okay, here's this lineup. And then I'll say, does this child have autism? And everybody goes, yeah. And then I'll play a tape of the kid, lining up the toys and talking like crazy, and then I'll mix up the toys and they don't care. So yeah, I mean, just informally, at least a third of the kids I see will line up their toys in different ways. And it's a play routine, something they have in their head, but it's not compulsive, and in the video I show a child lining up toys and then I change one thing. I even change it one place. They start screaming, they have a tantrum, and then they insist on it being back the same way. And that's something.
Everybody wants to do this diagnosing crap instead of relying on behavioral sciences, right? And then learned behaviors from their parents. If you're an OCD parent and you line stuff up, or you're very neat handwriting or any of that stuff, your kid is literally going to emulate you. My daughter likes to come behind me and try to wash dishes and sweep, and she has no idea how to do it, but she tries. And our son is the same way. He's lazy when it comes to work, but anything that comes to intelligence, games, anything that is learning based, he's all about it.
So I think that's like one of the biggest things, like for us in our case, a lot of people do look at Jace and automatically want to diagnose him autistic. And I feel like there are cases where, yes, there's a child that is autistic, but there's also cases where they're not. And if you misdiagnose a child, that could have more detriments than help, really. I feel like when it comes to him, just from what we've seen, a lot of things that we've seen, it just doesn't seem like it would be autism for us. I've worked with kids that have autism, so I know what that looks like, and I've seen different levels of that. And it's just not something that when I look at the autistic characteristics and I look at Jace, it doesn't completely match. And at the same time, a big thing that I learned through one of the podcasts I've been listening to, of the big thing that came to mind when he talked about autism and like late talking and all that stuff, is sometimes when you get your child diagnosed at such an early age, they're going to exhibit a lot of those things that point towards that, because they're 2 or they're 1. And so that's why for me personally, it's always something to wait. And could down the line it possibly be that? Possibly. We just don't know yet, and we're just really big on not diagnosing anything so early.
So first of all, does it matter that you need to know between whether it's a speech delay or autism? Yes and no. So yes, as in the long term, the therapy plan will be different. In the short term, it won't be that different, because all you're trying to do is to get your child to start talking or communicating to you first, right? And a lot of people will say, oh, what do you mean by get them to talk? They can do it, talk whenever they want. But the reality of the problem is that you are watching this so that you know why your child is not speaking yet. And this is the huge thing I want to tell you right now, is that the reason behind your child not talking is not really too much of an important thing for you to know right now, because the start of therapy the goals are always the same. All right. For instance, to get them to start using gestures, right?
Rice, chicken, rice, chicken, rice, chicken, rice, chicken. Oh, oranges. Shark, sheep, sheep, shark, shark.
Room temp, cold, 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 not cold, cold, not cold, cold.
When we first started teaching Jace, we showed him 2 things at a time. And I'd be like, A, D. And I would have like the A and the D. I'd have A, D, A, D, A, D. And I'd put him behind my back and I'd be like, which one is A? And then what I learned was, hopefully your child will reach for the A, this one. But if they start reaching for the D, then you slowly just kind of put the A and like, yeah, there it is. There's the A. So that's how we taught him. So it was funny because my mom had him for a week and he would always walk up to them. And he does this. I have footage in this video somewhere of it. He does this where he'll come up to you with 2 different things and he'll do that. And so my sister was like, I wonder if he does that, because that's how Morgan taught him. And I was like, it's funny. I never considered that. So a lot of his beginning communication, his beginning learning, the way he took it upon himself was to bring 2 things, because he had 2 hands, and to hold it up and for you to just name what was in his hand. Sometimes it would be one thing. Like, his way of learning was he'd bring something to you, tell him what it is, and then he'd go take it back.
eventually that transformed to, hey, Chase, can you go find the cow? And he would go to his room, dig around, find the cow, bring it back to me. Great job. Thank you. Can you take the cow back now and bring me the horse? Take the cow back. You know, there's like two different parts of speech. There's receptive language and there is expressive language. His receptive language has always been higher. When we got his reeval for speech to kind of see where to go on his goals, he ended up testing at a 6.5-year-old level. He is now really starting to express things. Like he's getting really better at, you know, telling me not just yes for everything. Before everything was yes. Now we're getting to the point where it's no. Just now, they're inside taking a nap. And I was letting them finish watching Frozen. And I say, okay, if we can't lay down and relax, else is going to go bye-bye. And he's like, no. So it's just kind of been a really fun, interesting journey to go through.
To stop them from using like hand leading, hand guiding, whatever you call it, hand pulling, to express their needs and wants.
Can you say, Mama?
Mama.
Dada?
Mama.
Dada.
Mama.
Say Dada.
Mom.
Yes. Say no. Eat. Potty. Good. Sleep.
This is not the official sign, but it's just how he does it.
Juice. Help. All done. More. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yay! Can you say all done with your mouth? Say all done. Say, all done. Look, say all done. Can you say open? Up. How old are you? Oh, I got something. Can you spell your name?
To get them to start playing with toys.
Good job.
To get them to start interacting with others, right?
More hugs? You asking for more? Oh,
These are universal goals that work for both speech and ASD, okay? ASD as an autism spectrum disorder, all right? So generally speaking, very general. I want to keep this as general as I can. Speech and language delay children, they tend to have better communication intent. What I mean by that is that they want to talk to you. They're very communicative. Not necessarily they have the words or sounds yet, but they tend to look at you more. They tend to play better. They tend to have an interest in people. That's the main thing that I want to say. Whereas autistic children or people, they tend not to have, they don't understand the reason why they have to interact with you. All right. Like making them talk to you is a hassle to them. Okay. At least from what I see. Obviously, autism spectrum disorder is a huge spectrum. I cannot say that, oh, autistic children are all like that. If you search on Google, a rabbit hole, right? People say, oh, lack of eye contact, right? A very heightened sensory, tiptoeing, likes spinning stuff, likes hand flapping, right? Likes to jump up and down, okay? Doesn't like to talk, doesn't talk at all, right? Has some sort of disruptive behavior, such as spinning on the floor, like hitting people, biting people, so on. These are symptoms, but at the same time, at the end of the day, the best symptom that there is the underlying reason is that they don't like to socialize, all right? So the question is it either or? Is it always speech delay or speech and language delay and autism are separate? No, it can happen together. All right, it can happen together. At this point in time, we do not know most of the 80 or 90% of the reasons why a child is delayed in speech and language. A child can have very good motor skills, very good fine motor skills, very good play skills, so on, but they will still be delayed in language. All right, we still don't know why. There are nature and nurture, meaning they are predisposed. reasons, there are environmental reasons as well, meaning maybe the language environment is not as rich. There aren't as many kids to play with them. They aren't exposed to as many language models as they should be. But at this moment in time, we do not really know why. And same goes to autism. It's a developmental disorder. You have it by birth and you cannot develop it.
So another key thing to keep in mind on all these spectrum diagnoses that all these experts want to give you, look for social cues as far as emotional understanding. It's one thing Morgan, being a teacher and having her friends, that's one of the recommendations that those experts gave her. Zoe, when she came along, was a perfect example of Jace being able to recognize emotions and show empathy, show jealousy, show anger, right? Like all kids do with their siblings. We bring Zoe home and he's jealous. It's a perfect example that he's not in his own little world, not seeing what's going on around him. Situational awareness has always been a huge thing with him. He sees everything, hears everything. It's gotten selective the last year or so, but he hears it. But Zoe, when we brought her home from the hospital, because he was staying with the grandparents, super jealous. Like, he was very curious, and then when he realized that she was there to stay and was another competition for attention, he got jealous. So he would start doing, acting out in certain ways just to make sure he would get attention. Beyond that, over time, it took a long time, probably about a year, for him to really warm up to Zoe. But now the two of them, 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, they're almost inseparable. They love being around each other. They fight like all kids, but they enjoy each other's company. They try to comfort each other. If one falls and hurts himself, the other one walks up to try to check on him. If one is upset because we're not getting their juice fast enough, or they want to eat, or Jace is having, issues getting a toy to do exactly what he wants, they'll go check on each other from across the house. And Zoe tries to be a little mama, Jace tries to be a little dad. Everything's falling into place like it should.
Again, this is only one segment from the whole entire video, so if you want more, you can go watch that entire video, or you can wait as I post weekly. Thanks for popping by, and I hope that you're here to stay. Thanks so much for watching our video today. Bye!
She's not